Okay, so that graph was supposed to come up when I click, but anyway. Hey, how are we doing? Is lunch tiredness kicked in yet? Been sitting around for a while now. I'm having a great moment, and it's really a great honor to be in front of all of you and be networking with a lot of people, such great people and technology that we're building in Auckland community. Has anyone been really inspired and you want to go back to work and feel like you want to do something at work, like data platform, improve it? I want to talk a little bit, devil's avocado, I want to talk about reality. So I'm really inspired by the data modeling talk. We've been trying to set aside some time every week, an hour, and get together data people and think about remodeling some of our data pipeline because they're inefficient, they're not really suitable for analytics, BI before AI stuff. So a lot of that really resonated with me. So I wanted to increase that to 2 hours, 1 hour to 2 hour. Multiply that by 4 people, so 4 extra hours, 8 hours a week. I can talk to head of engineering or some stakeholders. I want to take some time. And then they might say, oh, what about the deliverables? What about the business priorities that you're supposed to deliver? And this is going to happen to a lot of us, probably. Which is why I wanted to talk about measuring success of the data team, introducing observability, plus some more. There we go. By going through some of the key metrics that we explored and identified for our growing data team at Tracksuit, I'd like to share this so you can start thinking about what really matters to your data team and potentially start thinking about it and measuring them if you haven't been doing it already. A bit about myself, I'm Anna Choi, I'm a senior data engineer at Tracksuit. You probably have seen one of us walking around the team. It's pretty obvious that we're from Tracksuit. I come from a software engineering background, and that's the bubble chart for my career. So software engineering and then data engineering, until I discovered my passion for data. And since then, I've been integrating the engineering principles into the data platform, and which is why I'm a huge fan of DBT. I've been speaking in DBT meetups and stuff for its reusability, testing, and so on. I also have a blog where I post some technical things that I believe people will find it useful, and have some random YouTube channel for my hikes and travels. Something that I immediately noticed when I was transitioning into the data world was the lack of visibility on the data team's performance. Have you ever wondered how best to report or discuss or even visualize how the data team's performing? I know that some of us are data engineering managers, so hands up if you have experience doing this. Nice, great job. Not all of us have a luxury of having a data team's engineering manager. So, and if you have tried already, you'd know this is a much trickier job than measuring performance of other functions in the company, say of sales or marketing. They're pretty obvious metrics. So let's dig into why. So the type of the data work and the deliverables of the data team, in my opinion, are 2 types. One is the very visible work, like the analytical dashboard. You display the insights, maybe some machine learning magic going on behind the scene. There's an interactive app, streamlit, and this is very obvious to the user, and this is something visible that you can deliver to the team. However, the other type of work is not really the show and tell material. It's basically all the effort that goes into maintaining and improving the data platform. Let me elaborate. So this is the typical data platform. When we're delivering, we focus on the top part, where the data is ingested from the source, go through the transformation, and then the serving layer, and then consumed by analytics, machine learning, reverse ETL. On this part, we can measure how much we delivered, which is relatively easy. say the number of data requests raised and resolved. Pretty straightforward to get it from the ticketing system. Number of reports and dashboard added, or even the semantic models or reporting layer, that's pretty easy to get as well. Or number of sources added. These numbers, depending on your task management system, code base, BI tools, and so on, given that there is some sort of tooling and the process is set up, this is pretty easy to get. I mean, not just the spreadsheets and DMs for requests. I hope you have some sort of tooling. Now back to this diagram. As the delivery happens at scale and the data platform grows, you might have noticed the underlying layer becomes more and more important, like the data quality, security, governance, all the good stuff that we've been talking about in the morning, scalability, testing, documentation, you name it. Working on these is that less visible work of the data team that I shared before. Has anyone seen this matrix before? It's used for prioritization. Yep. So this is Covey time management matrix used for prioritization. You can put the different type of work into the 4 different quadrants in here, depending on the importance or urgency. Now, a lot of the work that goes into the infrastructure and the platform is on the top right quadrant, where it's important and not urgent. When we prioritize work, and imagine like an agile style backlog grooming situation, and imagine an urgent important task on the top left quadrant. Let's say there's a stakeholder waiting for a report with a deadline. This will definitely get prioritized, and it gets done. Urgent and not important tasks, example, like something comes up like very urgent data request. I need this piece of information to post it on the marketing website because the content is due tomorrow. Because of the urgency, even if it's not planned well, it just gets done. The not urgent but important work, that black box there, because of these 2 urgent works, gets rolled over to the next sprint and the next sprint until it becomes a huge problem, which then presents with urgency. It's like you see a fire hazard right there, and you don't bother to remove it because everyone's like tiptoeing around, like it's been okay so far. So, I mean, like, we sometimes are firefighters, but no one here loves it. Like, we didn't volunteer for firefighting. It's horrifying. We want to remove the hazard as much as we can foresee. Let's put this into perspectives. If you're managing the data team, you're basically helping the team hit the deliverables without owing a significant amount of technical debt. How do you make sure you have a healthy data team, and what do we measure to track this? I was at Nellie's engineering manager workshop yesterday. It was a pretty cozy one. There were only 2 of us, and we had a really deep discussion about how to communicate best to the external stakeholders and to the data team. And the answer is basically, we use data because, like emotional conflicts, and this is not my personal opinion, here's the fact, and then that's the best effective way of communicating as a manager. So, and if you're an individual contributor, analyst, engineer, machine learning, scientist, how do you keep the fine balance of delivering at a pace but at a high quality? Say you are navigating through the project, you're adding a feature, and you found a piece of code that's just simply like, it's overcomplicated. You want to do the right thing. You want to spend some extra time refactoring and simplifying the code. Put in the data test, documentation, instead of just adding even more to the complexity. If your team's under the constant pressure of delivery, how do you justify this time commitment? And after you've done some work, how do you prove that you left it better than you found it? At Tracksuit, there's a concept of priorities and pulse. Priorities are business priorities, and they're more related to the delivery metrics that I shared before. Pulse means the core activities as a business that we can't drop. The critical BAU stuff that we just needs to keep doing as a business. pulse metrics are just like pulse checks for our body. It's a quick measure of health to see if anything's going wrong with the system and the team. For different functions at Tracksuit, these are the examples of the different pulse metrics. So obviously for marketing, number of events they're hosting, number of leads, customer, number of onboarding and renewals, revenue, you got to hit the quota, you got to meet the number of outbounds. Product is the number of bug counts, is it still in the healthy bound? Number of customers problem solved. When we think about applying this to a data team, we want the pulse metrics to draw our immediate attention if something was going wrong. If something was unusually out of the range around the data platform and the data team. Just like in this vital screen, we can put different lenses, different perspectives on these metrics to estimate the overall health, such as the quality metrics to reflect the data quality, and the productivity metrics, which reflects how efficient your team is. Now, some of you might be thinking, if you don't measure, it doesn't matter. Right? And this is like technically true, but hear me out. If we didn't measure this, we'd be blindly assuming that everything's fine until a part of the platform starts like breaking, basically, and which then brings us back to firefighting. We want to be better than that, and I believe that's why we're all here, to learn from each other. We can also use these pulse metrics to see if we're moving in the right direction as a team, collectively. Acknowledge that the data platform is at a bad state, or positive words, lots of improvement, lots of room for improvement, and then move towards actually improving these metrics. And how do we do this exactly? Go away. Answer is data. We're data teams, like we got heaps of data. We solve everyone else's problems by providing data. We show the value of this less visible work by data. This is observability. At Tracksuit, we set up some metrics to measure some of the data quality metrics. And our tech stack is basically Snowflake and dbt, some data pipelines, batch processing. And we used dbt and elementary package to measure some of these quality metrics. I'll walk through some of the examples of the different quality metrics and how they can be quantified, measured, and visualized. Quick disclaimer, I didn't come up with these metrics, so I've borrowed these formulas from one of the blog posts from Casterdoc. It's like a data cataloging platform. We're not customers, but I was inspired by these blog posts. You can get accuracy by dividing the number of accurate records out of the number of total available records. And estimate reliability by the number of data incidents over a certain period of time, or the data test failures over a period of time. And this is the elementary UI, where you can see the ratio of the succeeded test results and then failed test result. We don't have any failure, we just have a couple warnings. Looking pretty healthy, right? And the monitor table. So this pretty much shows the test coverage. So this is like the overall tables, the data models that we have, the dbt models that we have. And out of 435, 84 is monitored, which means like, how much percentage is that? Yeah, yes. And you can get some breakdowns by what type of test is failing or succeeding, or the severity of the test. So here, like test failures, all good, looking healthy. Test warnings, we've been consistently getting some warnings, which we have seen and acknowledged. And I believe if you buy Elementary Cloud, it comes with alerts on Slack and some like incident management inbuilt, but we're just using the core package. Going back to the metrics, we have completeness, so number of non-null data entries out of the total number of data entries. This is also exposed on the elementary UI where you have all the number of tests and then the last run date, timestamp of the test, and the failure rate and the results. So this is filtered by the not null type of test. So quality pulse check, accuracy check, completeness check. Oh, that's a typo. And the reliability check. Moving on. We can even go beyond this primary layer of observability, which is the team productivity metrics. I reckon these are like bonus metrics. If you solve the primary ones, like subsequently, these will automatically improve. And while these are not so straightforward to quantify, they're more relevant metrics to the stakeholders or other teams external to the data team in the company to be able to feel the impact. Regarding the analytics experience, we can track the analytics turnaround time. So by the time the person raises a request, engineer goes and does some work and then come back to it and then communicates that. Ad hoc request resolution time. So this can be tracked as a ticket raised and closed, resolved, maybe some back and forth conversation as well. And the number of self-service queries versus the number of ad hoc requests. So these type of metrics, as you're building out the self-serve reporting layer, which is highly debatable whether we should do it, but this can be a metric if you wanted to do it. This can be a metric that you can use. And there's the developer experience part, showing how efficient is the internals of the data team, such as the onboarding time for a new person to join your team, and everything that takes with the learning curve and this local setup process and the request, the service request and the approvals and everything. Time to deploy, this is time taken for a code change to be deployed to production, including the time for CI/CD, code reviews, release process, and so on. And there's velocity, both team and individual. This shows the pace of the team or individual over a certain period of time. In software agile teams, this is often estimated by adding up the number of story points of every ticket that you worked on. You might be doing this already or not, but these story points will be agreed upon, like the backlog refinement or backlog grooming, where you collectively agree on the size of the size and complexity of the ticket, and then kind of estimate that. And as you track this metrics over time, cycle by cycle, iteration by iteration, you can see where it's like declining or where it's increasing, and then you can identify the weaknesses. So this is the list of the DBT models, which has the last execution time. So this column is the last execution time, and this is the median execution time. What this means, this can be translated into the time to deploy metric, because this will be what we'll be building in the CI/CD pipeline and the release process as well. Or even the turnaround time for the feature development, if you're building it locally, if you're building in CI/CD. This is also related to the infrastructure cost savings, because like say a table that takes like 20 minutes to build and materialize, it's likely that it's consuming a lot of compute resources. This is the lineage graph taken directly from the DBT website. This reflects data accessibility, and it's to do with the onboarding time or the time taken to change the code. Because for each change you make, you want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of the downstream consequences. So well-documented data stack can reduce this time significantly. And trust me, your new team member will really appreciate this. And now there was a lot of metrics to digest. And I'll add some of my thoughts on putting this into practice. If you're, can I do a quick in-person survey? If your company is about, say, less than 10 people, can you show of hands? Less than 10 people in the whole company. Multitude, a couple of people. What about bigger than 10, under 50? Okay, 10%-ish. What about 50 to 100? 50 to 100, and then 100 to 200? Okay, and bigger than that? Oh, okay. Oh. All right, we have a pretty good distribution there. So if you're a reasonably small team, like 1 to 3 data people and less than like 50-person company, and you're pretty flexible in what you work on, say like multitude less than 10 people, you probably don't need to like ask for permission or do the discoverability, like it doesn't matter that much. There's probably no point like trying to set up all these metrics that I introduced. Every day there will be some moving targets and some ad hoc reporting requests, so there we go. However, bigger companies need better project management. Bigger companies have company-wide targets, quarterly, yearly plannings, and they have their objectives on what the business is going to invest time and effort on, like AI initiative. Everyone wants the AI on the roadmap. Bigger, and you need to fight for what is important for the data platform against other business priorities, and this is reality. And this will be a constant effort, constant battle, not just a one-off thing. This is where these metrics can come in handy, because this is not just one person's opinion that we should do this work. These are the metrics, we need to improve this is in danger, and we need to work on it. Let me go through a Tracksuit journey. In a nutshell, we provide a beautiful, affordable, and always-on brand tracking. I'll do some in-person surveys soon. We help consumer brands such as Nike or Adidas in the sports category, or in the beer category, there will be like Heineken, Stella, to track their brand health and communicate the marketing ROIs based on the market research data, meaning surveys. So I'll give you a taste of what our survey looks like in a real life. Let's do an in-person survey. So in the past 3 months, have you purchased sportswear? Nice, okay. Yay, congrats, you are qualified to answer the next question. Which of the following sports brand have you heard of? And usually the respondent will go through like multi-select, but I'll choose Adidas as an example. So out of the people who qualified, who's heard of Adidas? Okay, cool. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Which of the following, so Adidas, would you consider purchasing Adidas? Keep your hands up. Okay, a few hands down. Have you purchased Adidas in the past 12 months? Okay, about less than 10 people now. And is Adidas your preferred brand out of these 5? 1, 2, 3. Nice. So congrats. You're the people Adidas brand marketers will absolutely appreciate. So this is the marketing funnel. So out of these questions, we aggregate the awareness metrics, consideration, usage, and preference. And this is sort of the things that marketers care about. And these are the things that the marketers will communicate to their board members with the numbers. And that's what we do. We do this by syndicating the survey, collecting samples, and calculating the brand metrics. Because Tracksuit collects, transforms, and provides the presentation layer for our customers, we're at a unique position that a large chunk of our work actually lies within the product team and the feature delivery. This part of the work, very visible and has a direct impact on the customer value. Tracksuit's currently scaling. I mean, look at this graph, it is at a crazy scale. And when Avi and I joined like a year and a half ago, we were the first 2 data hires. The company had about 30 to 40 people. Fast forward to now, we have 4 data engineers and over 100 people company-wide. And we plan to double the engineering in the next year. During this process of scaling, having more people in the engineering team and the external teams, there's a growing need to be super clear on what the data team's doing and the business value the data platform's bringing. Hence why we started exploring all these metrics, and it'll become more and more important to us in the next year. So what will matter to your team and your business? I believe the first step is to have a good thinking session and discussion session with your team. It'll depend on the size of the company and the pace of the companies and projects moving. And another good practice would be to set up at least some of the observability metrics, even if you don't need it right now. The sooner you start collecting the data about data team, it'll come handy when the opportunity presents that you need to start analyzing the trend and present it. And that was my final 2 cents. Thank you so much for listening. I know it's a long day.